Wait, one person at a time. You make it sound right where? In the room. By the room, I mean the actual studio, not the control room. Okay? There is no amount, and I'm going to stress this time and time and time again, there is no amount of EQ, compression, reverb, I don't care what you have. If the amp sounds like shit, it will continue to sound like shit all the way through to the final product. Because somebody hasn't done their homework and found out, why does that amp sound like crap? If it doesn't sound right there, there's nothing you can do about it. You have to get another amp. Now, it is true you might be able to, what? Move the mic, did somebody say? Ah! You could do that, and you may find something interesting. But chances are, if the amp sounds like shit, throw it out and get another one. Whether it's a bass amp, guitar amp, whether it's a bad acoustic guitar, or a totally out of tune guitar, or a ridiculous sounding keyboard or whatever, out of here. Because it's only going to make your problems worse down the line. So, EQ and compression, phasing, can I fix it in the mix? I doubt it. So, we touched on moving the mic until it sounds good. What does it mean, moving the mic until it sounds good? What does that mean? What? You've touched on two things there. Basically, what does it mean when it sounds good? Is it satisfying to the ear? Knowing that the guy's got a 4x12 Marshall cabinet with a 100-watt top, it's in good shape, right? And he's got a Les Paul. Now, there's a certain predictable kind of sound that's going to come out of that amplifier, right? And you know that when he goes, or words to that effect, it's got a certain sound that is recognizable. Now, if it sounds good in the studio, by moving your mic or mics to the appropriate position, the sweet spot, right? Who knows about sweet spots? Ooh, encouraging. Okay. We will give you a test later. It's a big can of worms. Where do we put the microphone? Because we talked about ambient mics, we talked about distant mics depth, and we also talked about close miking. So tomorrow at the hands-on, we'll be dealing with that in real time. Where do you put the mics? I hope I'm not keeping you up. I'm sorry. Attitude. Somebody said attitude. What about attitude? Positive? Positive attitude. What's that? Stay quiet, but have a positive attitude. How do you do that? Smile a lot. Yeah. Yeah, get into the music, nod your head. Don't be phony about it, but there's a way to be politically conscious, so to speak. It's very important to keep an upbeat attitude and a mood going in the control room, because what are we trying to do? We're trying to put this piece of music on tape. You may hate it, but the client's there, they're paying the buck. Whether you're an electric lady at $2,200 a day or you're in some cheap-ass studio, doesn't matter. Your relationship with the musicians is critical. They rely on you. They're looking to you for a cue. They're looking to see, is it cool? Yeah. Does it sound good? Yeah. Am I comfortable? Yeah. Water. Do I have a Coke? Do I have, whatever it takes to make the session go forward. If the client perceives that you are indifferent and that you're cold, they're not going to come back. Let's talk about scope, and I don't mean mouthwash. Don't limit your scope. Record anything and everything that comes your way. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's classical music, country, folk, rock, pop, heavy metal, rap, sampling. It doesn't matter. Film music, anything that is available to be recorded, go for it. You know, and in the beginning, you can't afford to be too choosy. I wish that, in one way, that Full Sail was not necessary. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I mean it in the sense that when I started off as an apprentice. There's no longer the apprentice program. It is not possible to have an apprentice program. I wish it were. I'd like to be able to take all of you under my wing and say, okay, here's the way we do it. And the best way I can do that is by talking to you. You can look at the videos that one video I did. That gives you kind of a clue. But I was really fortunate I had great teachers. Now, I know you have great teachers here, but there's a limit. The real-world teaching of audio as an art, and it is an art form, is a highly complex one, and it takes years. I think that it's great that schools like Full Sail exist. I mean, in a way, I wish I had had that kind of schooling, but I didn't. You know, the 60s, there was no such thing. Nobody even thought of teaching audio. What's that? Persistence. It pays off. You guys are going to, excuse me, guys, I use the word guys in a sort of very general term. I meant ladies as well. Pardon me if I sound, no. But it's true that, you know, everybody in the audience here who's learning is going to go out into the real world and try to find a job in the recording industry. It's tough. I'm not going to kid you, and I don't think anybody would kid you from the school either. There may be jobs available for you right now, but what about the competition from all the other schools? I mean, there's a lot of people out there trying to do it. Fortunately for you guys at Full Sail, you have, I think, like I said in the beginning, probably one of the best schools in the country, and I mean that. A very dear friend of mine teaches here, John Starrick. I'm sure you've been to his classes. Yeah. And I'm sure he's told you about Electric Lady and the beginnings of that and all that stuff. But you know, think about, I'll give you an example, like Electric Lady right now, they're full, you know. Not that they wouldn't take on another engineer if somebody decides to drop out, but it's a very real problem that, you know, we're pushing out into this world a lot of students, and some of you have to be creative and do it yourselves. In a way, I think it's really fortunate that we have DA88s and Mackie boards, because I'm in the midst of doing a project right now with a guitar player by the name of Eric Schenkman from Spin Doctors. He used to be with the Spin Doctors, no longer. He's got a new band. And in his loft in New York City, we've got a 24x8 Mackie. We found 2 U47 tube mics, which I was very thrilled to find. And we're recording basic tracks there. And it sounds awesome. I'm very pleased with the way it sounds. But that kind of thing can happen. I mean, you people can do that. Start your own studios if you can't find a job in a recording studio. I mean, I had to do that. I started my own studio when I was in my 20s, and it was pretty primitive, let me tell you. It was 2-track and a disc cutting machine too. It was pretty funny. But anyway, we digress. What? I'm digressing, and everybody goes, You mean you want to hear those stories? What? All right, well, you can ask me those questions. Here are some topics for discussion. Analog versus digital. Boy, what a big can of worms, huh? What do you all think about analog versus digital? Come on, let's hear some honest answers. What? They're different? Yeah, I'll say so. Use both? Okay. What? That's a subjective answer. Go on. Anybody else? Analog? Yes. What? In the back there with a white shirt.